is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and again, thank you to our witnesses here. Chairman Clayton, it's good to see you, and again, thanks for your work at the SEC. I was pleased to see you take steps to ensure appropriate oversight of proxy advisors and establish much more needed rules of the road for this industry in your recent August 21 guidance. Proxy advisory firms have gained extraordinary and unchecked power in recent years, and I'm concerned that shareholders and fiduciaries are relying on their recommendations, which often contain factually incorrect information. While the recent SEC guidance is an important first step, I urge the Commission to expand efforts to increase transparency into proxy advisory firms and ensure that they operate in a transparent manner and provide accurate information to support voting decisions. So in your view, what more can the SEC do in this arena, and how can the Commission work with Congress to bolster these efforts?
So let me start by thanking Commissioner Roisman, who has taken the lead in this area. And then in response to your question, I think the roundtables that we had last year, got a lot of input from various market participants, really show the areas that need attention. Do investors understand how the securities that they're invested in are being voted? They should understand that. Is our proxy plumbing where it should be? My answer to that is it's not. We should be able to know that when there's an election, the votes that are being cast are indeed representative of the number of shares and the ownership of those votes. We should be able to solve that problem. I think that's fairly straightforward. And then, just overall hygiene around the engagement process, and have we calibrated it correctly? We really haven't looked at the calibration around the shareholder engagement process with any great rigor in about 20 years or so. So a lot has changed. We have the internet. We have dissemination of information very quickly. We probably shouldn't have rules that were written for the males.
Thank you. Commissioner Roisman, I also want to thank you for your leadership on this issue. You just got a nice shout out on that. So same question, does the recent guidance from the SEC on proxy advisory firms adequately address this issue? And what more can be done to increase transparency and accountability for proxy advisory firms?
Well, thank you for the question, and I think that the chairman did a very good job of summarizing where we stand. Mm-hmm. I think we've had an interest in this area for a long period of time. I know members of this committee over many Congresses have as well, and in fact there's even been GAO reports to kind of delve into this. So what I would say is I think what we did in August was an important first step. I think we're constantly looking at other things such as the proxy plumbing. We've heard suggestions, things as like end-to-end confirmation, making sure that when people vote, those votes are counted. I think that's just critical to market and, frankly, voter integrity. And then things along the lines of potential other rules in terms of shareholder engagement. It's on our regulatory flexibility agenda, and to the extent that we get more comment on it, we would always input that in and make our best decision.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Peirce, again, welcome. So in April, FinHub published a framework for investment contract analysis of digital assets, which included 60-plus factors for determining whether or not the SEC would consider a digital asset to be a security. So in a statement released alongside your framework, your colleagues Bill Hinman and Valerie Skapanik indicated that the framework is not intended to be an exhaustive overview of the law, but rather an analytical tool to help market participants assess whether the federal securities laws apply to the offer, sale, or resale of a particular digital asset. So based on your discussions with market participants following the release of the framework, has the guidance helped resolve their most important questions? And wouldn't it have been more useful to indicate in the framework how the SEC would weigh these 60-plus factors?
I think weighting is one of the things that people have told me that they really would like to have. The guidance was well-intentioned, wanting to give more clarity, but I think it did muddy the waters.
Thank you. So last question, when can market participants expect an exhaustive overview of the law so that they can get the regulatory certainty required to continue and innovate and create American jobs?
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, I'm hoping that we can work to create some kind of safe harbor, which I think would be probably the best way we could provide clarity, but I'm open to other suggestions about ways that we could provide clarity, particularly for utility tokens, which I think are a little bit different than some of the other types of digital assets we sometimes think about.
Thank you. I yield back.